Good afternoon and welcome to an episode of the Philosopher's Rant. This is going to be my reaction to Trump's acquittal and the fact that democracy is now dead in the United States, and that should give away the conclusion that I have come to. There are a lot of people who think that acquitting Trump is an intellectually honest conclusion to come to, and that is just on a factual level, based on logic, and what the founders actually say about how government is supposed to function is just not true on any level. Regardless of the particular event for impeachment of Trump, in this case, what happened with Ukraine, the founders were very clear that they were worried about three things. They were worried about a tyrant taking power. They were worried about the public making a wrong decision, and in terms of who they chose for president, and they were very concerned about a foreign power influencing our elections. And this has now happened twice. First with Russia, and then with Ukraine, with Trump asking Ukraine to interfere by announcing a fake investigation on Joe Biden. This is a problem that is going to compound itself with Trump. I don't think a lot of people really understand how the Constitution and the Federalist Papers, nor some of the Founding Fathers' writings come to the conclusions that they come to. Donald Trump is the embodiment of all of the fears that the founders had. He is a tyrant. He believes there's this conservative argument about what has been dubbed the Unitarian interpretation of executive power. And that means that basically the executive has absolute power. And that's just not true. It's not true on a simple basis that we have separation of powers built into the Constitution. It's not true for the simple fact that the founders were so worried about a single person gaining absolute power. If that was their worry, why would they invest absolute power in a single person? That doesn't make any sense. When it comes to the people making a wrong decision, the entire purpose of the Electoral College had two issues to it. The first one was to make sure that less populous states were given a little bit more equal representation than more populous states when it came to a national election. But the other reason that really wasn't talked about when Trump won the election in 2016 was to override the vote if the people made an incorrect decision. Trump is an incorrect decision. And based upon how he views the power of the presidency. Because he does believe that he should be able to do whatever he wants. And what's supposed to happen is when a person like that wins the popular vote, the electors are supposed to go in December and choose someone else for the presidency. That's why faithless elector laws in certain states, where it says that an elector in the electoral college will be fined if they don't vote in accordance with the popular vote, are unconstitutional. Okay, they're supposed to be another level of protection against the populace making an incorrect decision. That's what it was for. Why? Because the founders were actually terrified of the electorate. Okay? They didn't trust them. The founders thought, the vast majority of them thought that the electorate was not educated enough or understood the issues enough to be given power to make these kinds of decisions. Okay? It's one reason why in the Constitution you do not have an absolute right to vote. It's not articulated that way. You can lose it, okay, based upon how rational you are. The problem is we have created a minimum level of rationality necessary for voting. And unfortunately, it's not good enough. But that's another reason to have the Electoral College function the way that it was originally supposed to, is when certain people get elected, the Electoral College comes in and says, no, you're not elected, we're choosing someone else. But it's not working that way. Which is why, for right now, I am okay with getting rid of the Electoral College. But I haven't figured out for myself what to replace it with. And then the third problem is influencing elections from foreign powers. A president being on a phone call and articulating in any way, shape, or form that they want a foreign power to announce an investigation into their political opponent, I don't care who it is, what party it is, for what reason they want the investigation, whether the investigation is real or not, it's just not allowed. You can't do that. If we are going to have a democracy in this country where the people decide in any way, then it has to be the people of this country deciding, not a foreign power, whether it be through Russia's influence on social media or the president requesting influence from another power in exchange for military aid. Either one of those things, it cannot be allowed. It has to, if it's going to be our decision, then it has to be our decision. And so the conclusions that people might have made where they say the phone call is perfectly fine, based on those logical conclusions, it's not intellectually honest. And the problem that we have right now is Plato said that democracy was one step away from anarchy, and he's 100% right. He hated democracy in part because it killed his teacher Plato, and he gave reasons against democracy throughout his writings, but especially in the Republic, that are still true to this very day. And one of the arguments is articulated in the allegory of the cave, when he says that the vast majority of people understand knowledge and truth like looking at shadows on a wall. They think these things are real when they're really not. And that's what we have with Trump supporters, and a vast majority of Trump supporters, and the Republican Party as a whole now, they're delusional. They're not able to see truth. And no, it's not truth as I see it or any of that nonsense. Truth is objective. There is objectivity in the world. A person can discern that objectivity. And it is objectively the case that Trump should be removed from office. Remove everything else just because he doesn't have the temperament for the office. Okay? Which brings us to the second problem. Not only are these Republicans delusional about what Trump has done, they don't have the virtues necessary to be leaders of this country. A virtue, the word virtue in philosophy, as it comes from Greek, comes from the word arete, which means an excellence. Okay, so that's what a virtue is. It's an excellence of some kind. And there are certain virtues that true leaders and people of dignity and integrity have to have. And two of those virtues are, one, judgment, which they don't have because they're delusional, and two, courage. They have to have political courage to go against popular ideas. And Republicans went lockstep and two smoking barrels in line with their base, which is Trump not only did nothing wrong, but can do nothing wrong. He is the second coming of Christ, which is a whole other video in and of itself. But these people are not virtuous. They don't have courage. They are cowards. They are not willing to speak truth to their constituents or to Trump, in part because they are too worried about their own jobs, and also because they don't know what truth is anymore. And that actually articulates a problem with the way our republic was set up by the founders. They created an inherent contradiction by making the politicians accountable to two contradictory ends. One, the people as voters, and two, the common good. They said first and foremost that a person needs to be accountable to the common good. They need to do what is in the best interest of the country, of the common good, instead of what is in the best interest of themselves. But then they turned around and said that we need people who will go with their own best self-interest, in the form of, I need to worry about what my constituency says. Those two things are diametrically opposed. And we've seen how that conflict can play out today. And so, but my final thought on this is, the reason we have vicious leaders is because we have a vicious constituency. The reason people or politicians are being voted into office who do not have the appropriate virtues is because the population does not have the appropriate virtues. The reason they don't have the appropriate virtues is because we are telling people that ethics is not objective. It's subjective. It's all about relativism. You need to worry about your own self-interest instead of other people. It's all about you, and no one else matters. We're not teaching ethics in schools or civics. We aren't. We're also just losing common decency towards one another. We have made everything egoistic, relativistic, and individualistic, and those ideals, well, they're not ideals at all, are completely undemocratic. They don't work in a democracy. I'm doing a series on what's necessary for democracy to function, and that I will be continuing soon. And one of the things that I will articulate later is individualism, egoism, and relativism end up tearing people apart instead of bringing people together, because what they do is they make you think that it's all about yourself, and not about the community or the group at large. And without a community, a mutual understanding of things, you can't get anything done in a democracy. Anyway, I'll end it there and just say that I'm highly disappointed in our institutions. I'm disappointed in both of our parties because I don't think Democrats played this correctly. And I am very, very fearful for what is in store at this country, especially if Donald Trump is not voted out of office. Because I think Nancy Pelosi was correct on Bill Maher a few weeks ago, which was the Republic can absorb one term of Trump's presidency, but not two. Anyway, thank you and have a good day.